Breaker Crunchers! Welcome to another exciting new episode of Couch Crunchers. It is Saturday night, and the only founding fathers that we love are Ben and Jerry's.
Woo!
So tonight we are going to talk about Hamilton, an American musical that we've all seen from the Disney Plus streaming service. One of us actually has had the opportunity to see it live, so we'll get their perspective on that. But with me tonight is Tyler and Max, as always, and our special guest Travis. Say hi, guys.
Hey. What's up?
My name is Travis J. Rats, and there's a million things I haven't said.
Nice.
Tyler, it's quite bright where you are.
Tyler, you gotta rise up, okay?
Turn down your lights and rise up. Your face is too bright, you gotta rise up. It's gonna be a very singy episode, I feel.
Hey, Larry. Larry from the STS guys is in the chat, guys.
What's up, man?
That's awesome. How you doing, Larry?
If anybody listening to us has not had the opportunity to check out the STS guys, it's a really fun podcast. You should go check it out, especially if you're a Funko lover, because all those guys are big Funko collectors. But
they have a bigger collection than you, don't they?
What did you call them? You said, is there a name for Funko collectors, like a cool street name?
Funkheads
collectors.
I don't know.
Can we make one up? Can you bring something into the American lexicon right now? Lance, go.
I do have a group that a buddy of mine created on Facebook that's getting a lot of traction called East Valley Funko Hunters. And we have a logo and fanatics, Larry says.
How about
Funk Bros?
How about Funky Cole Medinos? How about Funky Cole Medine Bros?
Yeah.
Larry, what's your collection at? Maybe he'll answer us. But I think Jeremy has the biggest collection on the STS guys, I think. But Larry will provide us some insight. But yeah, actually I got a new one. Check how cool this guy is.
It wouldn't be a new week of Couch Crunchers if we didn't have a new pop to see.
Stan with some cool glasses.
Stanley from Ragnarok.
Nice.
So
I just rewatched Ragnarok. That's so good. I love Ragnarok.
Oh, that's Larry has 350, so I've got Larry beat.
How many do you have?
I have about 400.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know Jeremy has more. Like his whole room is devoted.
I saw a cool one recently. It was Dwight Schrute with the CPR dummy's face on his face.
Oh yeah, that one's hard to find. All those Office ones are
okay. That tough. I want. That sounds awesome.
They just had one that was available at the Funko store that was Dwight carrying the unicorn doll. You know, where he goes and hoards them around.
Yeah, my horn can touch the sky.
And that sold out quick, dude. That's a highly sought after item. I'm not an Office collector, as you can tell. I collect mostly Marvel and DC, but those Office ones are tough.
Is it hard having all those kids and all those toys, and those kids, do they just come in and look at it longingly, the wall of toys that they cannot open?
Most of the time, my Office door is locked, and they do not have access to it.
Yeah. That's going to be a sad day when one kid gets brave enough to be like, screw it, I'm doing that. I don't care.
I firmly believe one day I'm going to walk in, they're all going to be out of their packaging. And
I also firmly believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get like a better security.
I know which kid is going to do that too. It's the one that thinks he's God's gift to your family. He's probably going to be the one to do it.
I did use those words to describe him.
It's like when you walk into a room and you see your dog cowering in the corner and just like chocolate wrappers everywhere, and you're like, I don't know, do I beat the dog, or do I take it to a hospital? I don't know what to do in this situation.
My coworker, so her husband bought her one of those big Valentine's Day hearts with all the candies in it, and the dog got into the whole box, and the dog actually died from it.
Oh,
yeah.
The dog died from the guy's poor taste in Valentine's Day gift. Like he went the lowest bar and it killed his dog.
No, but yeah, it was crazy. Like I knew that chocolate made them like sick, but to the point of death like that. I didn't realize that.
You think a dog would die from eating mole? Because it's got chocolate in it. If you fed a dog like a nice dish of chicken mole. Yeah.
Potentially get sick at the least.
Yeah.
I think it's the cocoa that's bad for them.
What if it's a Chihuahua though?
It's my understanding that smaller dogs are more susceptible.
Of course, yeah, that would be
Yeah, but I have a pit bull, and pit bulls are notorious for their weak stomachs. If she gets something from our table that had even like this tiniest bit of onion powder, she's sick for a couple days. But then I got another one that can eat dirty diapers out of the freaking trash can. So,
sassy.
Yeah, she's literally the definition of a junkyard dog.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to Chihuahuas, if you feed them anything other than Taco Bell, they're out.
That's what I thought. I lost a lot of good Chihuahuas that way.
If you're feeding them anything other than Taco Bell, you're insulting their heritage.
I have a Chihuahua, and I've tried to speak to him in Spanish. He looks at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it. So,
side note, he also looks at Max like he's crazy when he speaks to him in English. So
it's true. It's true. My dog is just like, why are you here? He likes my wife, not me so much. They both look so offended when my wife will go to bed before me, and they'll be laying next to her in the bed, and then I'll come up and kick them out of the bed, and they look at me like so offended, like, how dare you take our space right now?
Yeah.
Max walks in the room and they're like, "Oh, you're okay, but where's the less hairy one? That's the one I want right now." My girl dog actually likes me a bit more. So I have to keep I come down and I work in the morning, and Kelsey's 40 weeks pregnant, so she's exhausted and she's been sleeping in pretty late. Well, she also is a light sleeper, and so what I do is I wake up in the morning around 6:30, come downstairs, let the dogs out, and start working, and then if I let them in and I don't cover the stairs, they will rush upstairs and barge into the room and wake her up, because our door is stupid in our room, and I can't get it to close to where the dogs can't just push it open with their nose. I need to fix it. But anyways, my girl dog, if I forget to block the stairs, will actually sometimes stay and just hang out with me. So she's cool. But my boy dog, the Chihuahua, is a punk, and he hates me. Max, he got that Chihuahua. Never really liked that Chihuahua.
I love him now. I have to admit, when I first got him, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't grow up with dogs. I didn't really know how to treat them, and he peed everywhere. And I was like, "I hate you, you little shiz! You pee everywhere in my house, and you're just annoying." And he whines a lot. He's just a whiny dog because he's a Chihuahua. But at least he's not yippy. I know a lot of Chihuahuas that are, and he's not that way.
Yeah.
In fact, we had him totally trained not to bark until we got the other dog about a year later, and now he barks because she cannot be taught.
I got a note on my door the other day from a neighbor about my dog barking, and it pissed me off so bad because the nature of this letter was like, "Do your dogs have water?" Like, yeah, I'm not a freaking animal that's like killing these dogs. They have water. And there's shade in the backyard, and they love being outside. If I let them inside, they stand by the window until I let them outside. Like, that's where they want to be. But this lady, and we pull our dogs in, around 7, 8 o'clock. They're not outside all day or anything. And this lady put a note on my freaking door, dude.
Oh.
I got that once because when Kelsey and I were going to be foster parents, we had to do trainings about 2 or 3 times a week in Mesa. We lived in Santan Valley at the time, so it was a 30-minute drive. Trainings were about 2 hours, so we were gone from 6 in the evening until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And so we'd leave our dogs outside rather than leaving them in their crates, because when we were both at work all day, they were in their crate because we crate trained them. And then we let them out for 30 minutes before we leave again for 3 hours. We didn't want to put them back in the crate. So we'd put them in the backyard so they could explore and roam and stretch. And we put their food out there so they could eat and drink. And you know what I mean? Because we couldn't take care of them really. Yeah, we got some angry notes saying that they were going to call animal services on us and 911. And they never did.
I love a good door note. Those are always fun because you're reading it and you're slowly like, ooh, in your head. And I have in my mind, I imagine the people who put the note standing by their window, waiting for you to read it and just enjoying it.
I don't know. I've never put a note on someone's door.
Me either. I don't have the balls. I did it on a car one time because it kept parking in my extra space in Arizona, and I was like, "Ooh!" And I felt like a jerk. And then the next time you pass them, like on the sidewalk, there's this uncomfortable kind of showdown where you're like, "Yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. I'm not proud of it, but it got the job done. You're no longer parking in my space."
Though, guys, I do feel like this is a little bit more appropriate than what I've gotten in the past, because I had a crazy neighbor. We lived on the 3rd floor of a condo complex, and I had to get 2 loads to bring groceries up, right? And her dog is just like yapping, but we didn't really care and bother us. But she comes out when I bring the 2nd load up. She comes out and she yells at me and says, "You make my dog bark 50 million times a night." And I'm like, "You're complaining to me about your dog barking?"
Wow.
Shouldn't this be the other way around? Like,
Yeah.
at least what you guys there's like somebody complaining like at least the right direction.
Yeah.
That's
How dare you walk to your house?
Yeah.
I'm just bringing groceries into my thing. Like, oh my god.
Like, I could understand if you're sitting there and just like shooting rubber bands at their dog, trying to agitate it. Like, we when we lived in some acreage, it was pretty accessible, our whole backyard and everything like that. We used to have kids just come by and kick the fence to like piss off the dogs and stuff like that. Yeah. And so that I get, but you're walking to your house. What would she have you do? Like fly in by helicopter? Like what?
Yeah.
Learn how to apparate.
One time when I was a kid, my friends and I, there was this little baseball lot, and we'd all play there. This was back in the 1950s, and there was a fence, and behind this fence, there's this huge dog. We called it the Beast. And one time, my friend hit a baseball over there, and we had to spend the whole summer trying to find a way to get into that fence.
Now I want to review this movie.
I don't know why, but this story sounds really familiar.
As soon as he said the Beast, I was like, I think that's the name of the dog from The Sandlot.
Well, you weren't. You guys, I can tell by your faces you weren't getting it, and I'm like, I got to go harder on this reference. I got to double down. I'm like, I might have to say the entire plot of Sandlot from start to finish before they get this.
James Earl Jones was my neighbor, by the way.
Isn't he blind in it too?
Oh yeah.
James Earl Jones?
Well, not the actor, but the character was blind.
The character, movie. He got smacked in the head and it ruined his playing career.
But it's not James Earl Jones. He's from Field of Dreams. He wasn't in Sandlot, right?
He might be the guy in Sandlot too.
Now I'm not sure. Let's Google
I thought he was. Let's look it up. It's been like a lot of years since I've seen Sandlot.
I know he's in Field of Dreams, which is another baseball movie. I know Travis knows, but I wasn't sure if.
Yeah, it's James Earl. No, it looks like James Earl Jones. It's Thelonious Myrtle.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was James.
No, it is James Earl Jones. Okay, sorry.
Oh, wow.
The character is
Mr. Myrtle is his name.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I see the picture. I see the picture, and I'm like, that looks like James Earl Jones. Why is it saying Thelonious Myrtle? Because that's the character. I googled who's the blind guy in Sandlot, so it brought up the character.
If you ever get like a giant, if you ever get a what's the character's name again, Max?
Thelonious Myrtle.
If you ever get a big mastiff, don't name it the Beast. Name it Thelonious Myrtle.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Dude, that is one of the greatest movies ever. I just love that movie. Thank you.
I think it's back on Disney Plus. I know it was for a short while. It got removed, but I think it's back now.
I think it should become the Christmas story of the 4th of July. You know how like TMC will play Christmas Story 24 hours a day on Christmas, or one of those channels will, I feel, or Turner Classics. I feel that Sandlot should be one channel, 24 hours on 4th of July. I feel like it's the best summer.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little torn though. Like maybe they should alternate between that and Independence Day, because that was always my 4th of July movie. You know, got to get my Will Smith quotes like, That's what I'll call close encounter.
Independence Day lost a little of its luster for me when they came out with that very bad sequel.
Oh, I never
I
saw
still
it.
haven't
It spoiled the first one. But speaking of A Christmas Story, we are actually going to be interviewing Scotty Schwartz here soon, the kid that licks the pole in the schoolyard and gets his tongue stuck to it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna jump on Absolute Geek next week and talk to him as well.
Are you?
We'll plug in for that. Yeah, I got some questions.
And then we're interviewing Jack O'Halloran next week,
Nice.
who played Non in the Superman movies.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
that's super cool.
So we're gonna talk to him about his interactions with the gangster life. I guess he has a rich family background that has to do with mobsters and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah. Well, you were on that episode with Absolute Geek, right? They got an opportunity to talk to Jack as well.
I was not on it. No, I haven't got any of those sweet celeb guest appearance interview episods.
Did you watch our Eric Roberts interview?
I did. I thought it was fantastic.
Sam did.
Sam
I
knocked it out of the park.
I messaged him. I said the questions were fantastic. I thought you drove it in a great place. I do like the amount of time that had to be spent promoting the penis pump.
Yeah. No, I told Sam, I said, this guy probably gets asked about Batman all the time. Please don't devote half the show to Batman.
Yeah. My favorite movie he's in is The Pope of Greenwich Village, so it was nice to hear a couple of things thrown out about that.
Yeah. Sam did a really good job. But yeah, we got quite a few interviews lined up. Thanks to Matt from Absolute Geek for hooking us up. And
nice, yeah.
But let's. Are you guys watching anything that you kind of want to plug?
Have you guys have you guys watched Yellowstone yet?
No.
Yellowstone it's in its third season, I believe. I watched the first two seasons of it. It's this Western starring Kevin Costner, some contemporary Western about.
I heard of this.
It follows a very kind of the modern day long form drama plots where it's very Shakespearean. It's kind of a la Sons of Anarchy, where it's like Richard III, but it's this family of Montana ranchers. Kevin Costner plays the patriarch of this family, and it's about them keeping their land and about the men who work on the ranch and the dynamics of the family and what they do. So it's very formulaic in that sense. Kevin Costner is a tour de force in this. It's a role he was meant to play. But what I really love it and what takes it a little off center and is interesting about the format is they shoot in Montana and Wyoming, and it's just all these beautiful landscapes. I mean, the exteriors change from scene to scene. It's not like 4 locations over 3 seasons, or we just change 3 locations each season. There's these great vistas of Wyoming and Montana, and it's this beautifully shot show. The dialogue is really crisp. It's really that kind of hyper westernized cowboy talk, and really, really strong piece that I like. It's nothing too avant-garde, but it is, I think, the long form drama done at its best without breaking a lot of the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like one of the
what's it streaming on?
Paramount Network. I was just looking it up.
Yeah, it looks like it has a great cast. I'm looking at it right now.
That's what it's streaming on, is the Paramount Network?
Oh, I think you can get it on Peacock now. I don't have Peacock, but I know I know that Peacock has some Paramount stuff, so it's streaming on there. And yeah, so I've really enjoyed that. There's some really great performances in that as well. So
I need a new show. Like I have a couple things I'm watching with my wife, but the stuff I watch by myself is kind of dried up. So
I think that Yellowstone could be a couple's watch. There's a really strong couple of really strong female characters in there, and the family dynamics of it. So there's a little something for everyone.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that. I'm trying to figure out how many times we may name drop a Kevin Costner project tonight. So we've got 2 so far: Field of Dreams,
Oh, that's true.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Is there a reason we would drop another one?
Well, I'm
I don't
just
think you
saying,
played it
in the
in
middle, I
Counting
might
Crown.
get Tourette's and just yell,
Yeah.
you know, Waterworld.
World. Yeah.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves,
Bull Durham.
Man of Steel.
Did you guys?
Yeah,
ever
well,
watch that one?
I was thinking that his name in the movie. I was trying to remember Superman's dad,
Jonathan Kent.
Jonathan Kent. Yeah, I was like, if he's playing a farmer, his name needs to be Jonathan Kent. That's exactly what I
Well,
was thinking.
hey, his name's John Dutton in the show, so his first name is Jonathan.
There you go. There you go. I like it.
Tyler, what are you watching? Anything good?
Yeah, so I've got a few things. I don't know, because I haven't been on for like a month. But the biggest thing, talking about Peacock TV, it is on Peacock, is Psych, the movie 2. Psych, Lassie Come Home is what it's called. And I love Psych. And the first movie that they made was just kind of decent. Like, it wasn't like my favorite. But this one is definitely, they stepped it up, and the sequel is really, really funny. There were a couple of elements that I kind of missed from it. Like, he doesn't really do his, pretending to be a psychic thing in it.
Well, because they all know now, right? Don't they
What's
all
that?
know? Don't they all know that he was faking?
Well, the main characters do, but he usually uses it, like, it's usually used for comedic purposes. Like, he'll just read somebody and pretend to be a psychic and, like, tell them something about themselves or whatever. And there were a lot of opportunities for it. I don't know why they went that direction, but overall is super funny. Is really, really good. And it's trending on Peacock TV, so a lot of people are liking it apparently.
Yeah.
Well, there's not much to watch on Peacock right now. I mean, there's about 6, maybe 5 shows in that movie are pretty much the draws. I went on there yesterday and I want to watch that David Schwimmer one.
Yeah, I've seen ads for it. Intelligence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Psych 2 looks good. I have a question though about it. How many pineapples did you spot?
I honestly am not somebody that even looks for them, so I don't know.
If you guys don't know, that's an inside thing with Psych. They always hide a pineapple on every episode or something like that.
Yeah,
I've only seen season 1 of the show. I like it. I really like it. I just haven't watched the rest.
Yeah, every episode they have at least one pineapple. Fans of the show will bring, to cons and stuff, they'll bring a pineapple for the actors to sign. And
how do you even preserve that?
You don't.
Yeah, so
maybe a ceramic pineapple.
Yeah, but no, it's funny. But another show I'm watching, which is actually really good, that got a lot of hate because people didn't really understand what it was, is the Princess Bride remake. It's
on Quibi. It's little short intervals that they did during quarantine.
Yeah, it's done in 8 or 9 minute sections, and I think there's 10 of them, and they have 88 different actors, and sometimes even in the same episode, one character will be multiple actors. They'll switch back, to different people, and they have tons of huge people, Adam Sandler, Hugh Jackman, tons of huge names that are in it. Chris Pine, Jennifer Garner, all kinds of people. But it's basically the social distancing version of Princess Bride, and they just are okay with it being ridiculous. And they have part of it is in between scenes they'll show people traveling with Legos and stuff like that. It's funny because some people be sword fighting someone. Yeah. And they're not in the same place, and they don't have the same props. They're just using props they have at home. So the props will look different when you go from each person.
Okay, so this is just a fun almost
it's
fan-made
a home
project.
video thing.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay. That I'm okay with. I've never been a fan of remaking Princess Bride. It's a classic that I don't want to see a remake of. But that sounds fun. Like a celebrity reinterpretation for kicks and giggles.
Yeah, and it's just meant to be like like an at-home like movie remake, like a family remake, but it's just all actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's super good, and I think Max, the reason why it got so much hate is because most people have the opinion that you do, that nobody wants a remake of Princess Bride.
Yeah, but they never
It's like the perfect movie.
A remake. Like,
right, yeah.
It's kind of like Be Kind Rewind. Like, it reminds me of that. Like, it's like home video remake. Like, if you guys see Be Kind Rewind with Jack Black and
no, I haven't seen it.
Most Def that's in that.
Yeah,
It's been a long time, but yeah, I've seen. Actually, Jack Black is in the Princess Bride remake too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he better be.
So yeah,
but that's awesome. Is Quibi free or does it cost money?
It's not free. It's cheap. It's like $5 a month. But you get like the first 14 days free or whatever. But it's got some good stuff on there. Like, I've been watching some of the other stuff, and it's pretty funny too. Like, there's a show with the guy from Last Man on Earth. And
Forte?
What's that?
Will Forte?
That sounds right. I don't remember his name, but
we kind of ripped him pretty hard on the show a couple weeks ago. So he does the voice of Shaggy in the Scoob movie.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's really funny. He plays just this idiotic character, and he's married to this woman that they get together and they want to do a home remake show.
Oh, I've seen the trailer for this. It looks kind of funny.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was on Quibi though.
Yeah, they find this house that's this abandoned house, and they want to like remake it, redo it, renovate it. And inside the walls of the house, they find $500,000, and they use that to make their show. And then a drug dealer comes after them, and so that's because he's like, "That was my money." So, it's pretty funny. So, there's a lot of good stuff. One other thing that I'm watching, I know I have a lot because I've been out for a while, but one other thing is The Order. The Order it's a pretty good show, actually. So I watched part of the first season.
Netflix, right?
And I just it's on
remind me, Tyler. I get The Order and The Society confused all the time. Is The Order about the secret wizards?
Yes. So it's about kind of wizards and werewolves.
Yeah. So I've watched that entire there's 2 seasons available of it, and it's a really good show. Anna didn't like it as much, but it has some strong like supernatural type feel to it, like that supernatural element, wizards and witches and werewolves and all sorts of stuff. It's really good. Alternate dimensions and demons, like it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like, it's not afraid to make fun of itself either. Like, there's a lot of it's got some good comedy in it too. But yeah, it's really good. So those are the main things I've been watching.
Maxie, what about you?
Well, I was doing an MCU rewatch, not of every single movie, but I basically started Phase 3 and rewatched all of Phase 3, except for Far From Home. Nothing wrong with it. I finished Endgame, and I was like, all right, that's where I'm going to end my rewatch this time around.
Do you have one more movie? You couldn't watch it?
I just didn't want to, dude. Far From Home is good, but after Endgame, it's not that good. Endgame is just so good.
I love Far From Home. Far From Home. So Infinity War had that big, like, holy crap moment, like when everybody vanishes, or the Spider-Man moment and all that stuff. Yeah. Endgame had it with the Iron Man death and Captain America and all those things. But Spider-Man kept it going with the whole revealing himself to, or like Jake Gyllenhaal, Mysterio revealing who Spider-Man was to the public. And then that J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons reveal at the end was just as
that
good
was awesome.
as the reveals.
Yeah, no, that reveal was freaking awesome. And I love Far From Home. I just didn't feel like watching it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still might. I only finished Endgame like 2 days ago. But yeah, so I did that. Oh yeah.
She calls it the Peter Tingle.
Oh yeah.
I have a shirt with his face that says Peter Tingle across it.
I may as well watch it. I can't really think of anything else I really want to watch right now. And our baby's going to be induced on Wednesday, so it's like I don't really want to get in the middle of a TV show. Like I was going to start Hannah season 2, but I don't want to like start it and then have to stop for like 2 weeks or something. If I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like when the baby's born. If I'm going to be too tired for any of my hobbies or whatnot. But yeah, and then Ghosts of Tsushima that came out on Friday, and so I've played a few hours of that, and it's really good. It's a video game on PS4 set in Japan during like 1274, so it's during like the Mongol invasion, and it's really cool. I'm really digging it. Cool open world, fun gameplay, really fun gameplay. Like the idea of being a samurai has always been a video game dream.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole feudal Japan is a really untapped pop culture era that I think we should see. I mean, they did it in like Last Samurai, stuff like that. We'll have a little bit of it, but you don't really get to explore that world. Certainly in video games, not much in any kind of realistic way. So is it kind of like a Red Dead Redemption, but in Japan kind of thing?
I mean, in some regards, yeah. I mean, it's an open world like Red Dead Redemption is. So you get to explore and kind of do whatever you want. And yeah, it's set in Japan, but it's all about like the samurai code. The basic premise, without getting into any spoilers, is that, not that I could really give many, I'm only like 2 or 3 hours in, but the basic premise is that you play as a samurai who at the beginning is in a big battle, and pretty much all of the samurai, except for very few, are killed by the Mongols. And so now you're trying to take back Japan, and you have to go about it in less than honorable ways, that what samurai would consider honorable. So it's about the main character struggling with like assassinating people from behind, which is not the way a samurai believes is right. Like, face your enemies head on. They need to look them in the eye when you kill them. Things like honor, and all that. And so it's really fascinating. I like that era. The Last Samurai. We joked when we first started the show that I had like a hard-on for Tom Cruise or something, and that it was my favorite movie of all time. It is one of my favorite movies. I do love The Last Samurai. I think it's fantastic. But you're right, Travis. There's not a ton of. I mean, there's plenty of samurai movies like Kurosawa. I think is how you say his name. Yeah, he did those back in the old days, which is another fun thing in this game. There's a Kurosawa, however you say his name. Gosh, there's a Kurosawa mode, where it goes all black and white with like a film grain on it, kind of like you're in the movie theater, and then it also changes the audio quality to sound more like an old movie. I'll occasionally turn that mode on because it's kind of fun to just see this open, beautiful world in black and white and whatnot. But yeah, it's a really fun game. It's really cool. I prefer to play on color because I like it's this beautiful world. It's fall, and you've got these yellow leaves blowing in the wind, and red leaves all over the ground, and green grass and mountains. And Japan's a beautiful place. I mean, you live there. I'm sure you would know better than us, Travis. But yeah,
not in the summertime when it's raining every day, but for most of the time, it's good.
Fair enough. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. I'm looking forward to playing more, but we'll see how much time I get.
So I've been watching a few things. So my wife and I started watching Dead Like Me, which is an old Showtime show, I think, about this young girl who dies and becomes a Grim Reaper and has like a whole crew of Grim Reaper, a team, and they have to go collect souls as they die. And that show is absolutely hilarious. I don't know if Travis, have you seen that one, Dead Like Me?
No, I haven't.
It won quite a few awards, and I think there's a movie that they did at the end of it as well. But that's been great. I watched The Order. I watched Hannah season 2. Both are fantastic. But I mean, there is one on Amazon Prime called Hunters with Logan Lerman and Al Pacino, which is basically a team of a Jewish team. And some of them are from the Holocaust. They were victims of the Holocaust and stuff like that. Basically find out that there's Nazis living in America, that the government smuggled over, and they're hunting them and killing them in brutal fashion. And
Yeah, I saw a couple of those episodes. Yeah,
it's pretty badass. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I really like that show. I hope they continue it.
it looks expensive. It looks expensive, like the way, like, you know, the number of locations, the action, the actors, getting Pacino in there.
It looks like it's a very expensive show to make. I mean, it took me 2 episodes to even realize who this was, but one of the Jewish team members is the main guy from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
And I never, like, he has like a full beard and like all these, he's made to look like this big movie star, and you don't even realize it's him. His voice sounds different. Everything about him is different. But the best thing about that show, they do something unique. So it borrows some little tidbits from history that maybe is not in general knowledge. For instance, the American government bringing Nazis over to America from the war, high-ranking Nazis that were like big into space exploration and things like that. They brought them over to America and gave them new identities and kind of wiped away their history to have them work for like NASA and stuff. And the show wants to make sure that you know that actually happened. So they have I compare them to like Family Guy breaks, where they'll have like a game show and basically tell the person who's watching the show, like, this is something that actually happened, but they do it in a humorous way to not like discourage you from continuing watching. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things that are pretty shocking, that are actual true things that happened, that this show borrows from to kind of create this fictional setting. But it's very good. I would recommend it to anyone. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I really like Logan Lerman. I think he gets a bad rap, but he was great in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
I like him too.
Yeah, and
I didn't realize he got a bad rap. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about him.
He's just not, for the amount of work that he's done, he's just doesn't have that A-list status, you know, because he's been Percy Jackson, and he was the second choice to play. It was between him, Tom Holland, and Asa Butterfield. Is that his name? From Ender's Game?
Yeah.
To play Peter Parker. And Logan Lerman was my top choice because I had no idea who Tom Holland was at the time, you know. But Logan Lerman, I think he's a very good actor. And there's a new show that I want to watch. I don't know if either of you three have seen it. Is Cursed on Netflix with the girl from 13 Reasons Why.
Yep. No.
Just came out yesterday. Cursed. Yeah, and it looks like it has some mystical elements to it as well.
So before you move on, I forgot that I do want to mention one more thing. Because you were talking about Al Pacino, and I just remembered, I just watched one of Christopher Nolan's like oldest movies, Insomnia, which stars Al Pacino.
I've been asking you to see that for about 7 years.
I don't think you've ever mentioned it to me.
Yes.
And I'm not even kidding.
I've mentioned it on this show.
Well, I watched it. So it's got Al Pacino as the main character, and then it's got Robin Williams as one of the other leads. And it's so good. If you guys haven't seen this movie, you need to. I wouldn't list it in my top ranking Christopher Nolan's, but it's Christopher Nolan, and it is incredible. So it's funny because I would say it's one of Christopher Nolan's worst movies, but Christopher Nolan's worst movies are better than most people's best movies. So it's really, really good.
It's not, and I didn't even realize until a couple of years ago that Christopher Nolan directed it. What's great about that movie is Robin Williams' performance.
Yes, it is really good.
It's one of his best performances I've ever seen. Like, he's firmly in a dramatic role in this movie. It's an interesting idea. They're in Alaska where it's always daylight, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And Robin Williams is just fantastic. But I thought it was based. No, it's a remake of a Norwegian film from 1997.
Okay.
So I knew it was based on something, but it's I love that movie.
It's very good, and I'm pretty sure it's on HBO Max. I was just flipping through HBO Max last night and trying to see what movies are on there, and Insomnia was on the list. So if you guys have HBO Max, check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, the issue with that movie is Robin Williams. He did a lot of dramatic roles, but they didn't get a lot of fanfare like his comedic roles did. So like
Good Will Hunting did.
Good Will Hunting did, but like What Dreams May Come was critically panned when it came out. Then he did 1 Hour Photo. He did Insomnia. He's done quite a few dramatic roles. That Good Will Hunting is different because of
Dead Poet Society. That's my jam.
That one gets a little fanfare.
People
but
love
not
that,
so
yeah.
much for him. I think it's more for what that movie is.
Yeah.
But I mean, have you guys seen 1 Hour Photo?
No, I've never even heard of it.
It's haunting. Like his performance is haunting. He plays this like introvert photo developer. He works like at a Walgreens or something like that.
So it's like Flubber.
No.
Exactly like Flubber. Yes.
But that movie was critically panned as well. Travis, you remember when that came out, right?
Yeah, I guess I never thought about. I know the era you're talking about, Rob Williams, was he was doing those back to back, Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo, and then he started doing like the family friendly like RV movies and stuff like that again. And things took a slide. But yeah, I guess I never put all those together as the public opinion on Robin Williams. But you're right, none of those really pop for people.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting and Dead Poets Society, of course.
Those were like the mid 90s. You know, what you're talking about is like the early 2000 era. You know,
he was trying to feed on that dramatic side a little bit. But What Dreams May Come, I mean, I think a lot of people like it now, but when it came out, people were like, what the hell is this? Like, it just didn't make sense to people. It's a beautiful movie. I don't know if either of you have seen it.
People like stuff like Patch Out. I like what James. The visual, visuals are beautiful. The colors, the paint, it's heartbreaking too. But the Patch Adams was another one. But that like things like Patch Adams and Good Morning Vietnam, he still gets to be humorous in them. You know.
Yeah, but you could say the same about Adam Sandler. I mean, he does these dramatic roles, Punch Drunk Love, and Uncut Gems, which I thought he was fantastic in both of them. And zero award recognition. Like, people don't really want to hear Adam Sandler if he's not being funny, like in Happy Gilmore or something like that. And even now, they don't really want to hear him at all. But
I think Hollywood. Me too. I think Hollywood respects Adam Sandler. We just saw him in Uncut Gems. He was nominated for a couple of performances, like that one where he's the 9/11 movie where he's.
That one was incredible.
Yeah, something about rain. It was like a Bob Dylan.
Is that the one with Don
Hard
Cheadle?
Rain? I think it might. Is it not Hard Rain or?
Where is it?
I don't. It's
is
been
Don
so long.
Cheadle in that one or Jamie Foxx or?
I think it's Don Cheadle.
But he did one with Jamie Foxx.
Rain Over Me.
Mm-hmm.
Rain Over Me is
not
what
the one where he's the classical musician, right? Isn't there one where he's playing a violin or something like that? I think it might be.
No, that's Robert Downey Jr. I think is in that one.
Guys, his most important recent role, he was the grandpa reading The Princess Bride.
He's like, true love.
That's pretty darn good, Travis. Wow. Okay, but no, I disagree with you, Lance, because I hated Uncut Gems. I thought it was awful. But most people, like critically, it was very well received, and people.
But it did not get nominated for
any.
It did not get nominated for any.
Yeah, but it wasn't as good as some other movies last year. So I mean, even his performance was great. I mean, if nothing else, as much as I hated the movie, it was because his performance was so good that I hated his character so much, and I wanted nothing more than to just see him die. You know, like I hated his character with a fiery passion. Because of the acting. I think, you were supposed to hate his character.
Well, then he did a good job.
That's what I'm saying. He did a really good job. But you're right. He didn't get nominated for awards, but I don't think that means he's not getting recognition. Okay,
well, here's the thing. I think, so if you look at the other people that got nominated for their awards,
okay,
I could firmly place him directly. Ultimately, Joker won, and Joaquin Phoenix deserved that. But there's some people here that got nominated: Antonio Banderas, Tom Hanks, which Tom Hanks did a really good job in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. But I thought Adam Sandler did a better job in Uncut Gems. But I think he's also a very firm conservative, and I know that there's been some conspiracy theories about that. But the guy is never included in those award he's included in discussions, but on awards day, he's, just a bridesmaid.
Adam Sandler?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't know it was political.
He's a firm Republican.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to bleed into those conspiracy theories, but Matt says, Travis, we need to start paying you for being on the show.
Oh, okay.
When we start getting paid, we'll pay you.
Well, my summer break is almost over, so my absence might be coming up as I go back to work here.
I will pay you in whose line is it anyway? Points, 50,000 points for you.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, thank you.
But let's get into our main
prize.
topic. Let's get into our main topic. So the real reason we wanted Travis on here tonight is Travis is the one that saw Hamilton live and also saw it on Disney Plus. The three of us saw it only on Disney Plus, but Travis is also a drama teacher.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I've done I'm going to humble brag for a second, just so I'm going to talk about this, the theater experience of this. Yeah. I teach drama. I've written and put up about 4 or 5 of my own plays. I performed off Broadway. I've been to lots of theater, but I didn't grow up doing all this stuff. This is probably in the last 6 years that I got into theater through writing. And then it's such a do-it-yourself, get it off the ground that you help. It's like kind of like the podcasting world. It's like you help people out. So sometimes you have to act in a show. Sometimes you have to run tech in a show because you had people put on yours for free. And so it's kind of like what we do with the podcasting world. It's like you help people out. And so when you do that and you just have to just jump in there, you just learn a lot on the ground, which I never thought as a kid. I was never a theater kid. I wasn't going to do that stuff. And I didn't grow up in a place where there was a lot of Western theater. So it's kind of a newer in my latter half of life that I've gotten into theater and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I could say that I'm in that camp as well. Like I didn't have an appreciation for it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm older, I went to my first play, I guess you could like big play at ASU Gamage a few years ago. I was with Max. It was the first one that I ever saw in that kind of setting that wasn't like a school play or something like that. I saw Green Day's American Idiot at ASU for my birthday.
Yeah, Gamage did a great job of putting that in there.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, oh wow, this is like, and it probably too because I related to the music. But since then, I've seen Les Mis, I've seen, and now I'm drawing a blank. I've seen others.
Yeah. I've seen Blue Man Group somewhat recently.
It's a play.
That does not count. No, that does not count. So I love theater, and I have most of my life. Growing up, I thought it was a stupid thing to like, even though I always sang growing up in church and I was in like choirs and stuff. It wasn't until I was about 13.
By the way,
14.
audience, Max has the voice of an angel.
Oh, do I?
Voice of an angel, yes. Yeah.
When have you heard me sing?
Okay. Sorry.
Max,
well, thank you.
Max and I actually have a song that I wrote for my wife, where he does background vocals on it. It's on Apple Music.
Yeah.
It's
called
Whoop That Trick. Whoop that trick.
I do enjoy singing though. But yeah, I was about 13, 14 years old when my parents took my brother and I on vacation to New York, and we went and saw two plays on Broadway. We saw Aisha, and then we saw Phantom of the Opera the next night. And I was whining and complaining and telling my parents I didn't want to go because theater was for girls, and no. I was being an idiot. I was being stupid. And then I go and I see Aida, and I loved it. I was like, holy crap, this is great. And then the next night we went to Phantom of the Opera, and back then theater tickets in New York were way less money. So we were in like the 4th row and saw Phantom of the Opera in the 4th row in this Broadway theater where they had flames coming out of the front of the freaking stage and you could feel the heat. And that solidified my love of musical theater. That is still the greatest experience I've ever had watching a live play. I loved it so much. And it got me really interested. And so after that, I started doing musical theater on my own, So I've done Annie. I was the Wizard and Wizard of Oz. I was Judd Fry in Oklahoma. I was in Bye Bye Birdie. I did a lot of plays in high school, and I'd love to get back into it in my adult life. And Lance is laughing.
Oh, something Matt said.
Yeah, I know. Matt said something.
He says, "I know, Aisha. That trick owes me $50."
But I love musical theater, so I was very excited for Hamilton, which will definitely play into my thoughts.
You know, there have been times when I've enjoyed theater. One of my biggest qualms about going to the theater, though, is they make the seats for hobbits. I swear. It drives me insane.
Travis has this misconceived thing that he's like this gigantic human being, because that's his complaint for everything is how big he is.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they make the seats for tiny people. Like I'm only slightly above average person in size, right? But like those seats, my arms, like I have them straight down to my sides, and my arms are halfway on each seat to the side of me.
At Gamage, I totally agree with you. At Gamage, the seats are pretty small because they want to cram people in. But Hale Theater is better, I think. My wife and I, for like 3-4 years in a row, we got season tickets to Hale Theater in Gilbert, and we'd go to like 4 or 5 plays a year.
That's 30 years newer, I think. Like that's
it's different. Yeah. And that's really cool theater because it's in the round. I never got to act in that theater in the round, but I just love it, man. I want to go to a play so bad, but you can't go to the movie theater. You're not going to be able to go to a play right now.
Tyler and I had a 15-minute conversation about yoga mats a few weeks ago. It
was like, what are you talking about? No, I have an issue with yoga mats because they're almost all too narrow for me, which I did go pick up one of those, by the way. And it's
the
fun.
Avengers one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yoga mats are thin. It's true.
Yeah. Well, they're like my shoulders are always too wide. So I'm like, what's the point of this? But you know, I think they mostly cater to women buying yoga mats. But
yeah, that's why I told you go get the Avengers ones.
And I got it. But no, it's I even went to the I went to the super famous stage in London where they have the spinning stage and everything, and I saw Les Mis there, which was really, really fantastic. But I was so uncomfortable the whole time. I'm sitting like this, and just do not like it. But you go to the movie theater, and most places now I can recline, and I got space for my drink, and give me that at a stage theater, and maybe I'll be more apt to go see some more. But
well, let's talk about Hamilton real quick. So I want to first, I kind of know where Max and I stand. I don't think Tyler and I have spoken about it, but I know where Max and I stand. I know where Travis stands, but Tyler, I want to hear what you thought of the Disney Plus release.
Well, I'm going to have a very different opinion than you guys, I think, because I honestly couldn't even make it through the whole thing. And it's not necessarily because it was done poorly. I think it was the quality of the show was very good, but I hate that style of like, I don't even know what it's called, like the sing rap that they do. I cannot stand it. Like I just could not watch it. And it's just my personal preference. Like I just don't like it, and I'm not into that type of thing. But I did feel like there were some people who were very good actors. There were some great singing performances. And the stage looked phenomenal. So there was a lot of good quality to it. It's just my personal preference. I hate that. I just hate it. So I couldn't really get
How far did you get into it?
Well, so I kind of was intermittent. Honestly,
He found out the guy's name was Alexander Hamilton, and he's like, okay.
Hamilton.
He goes, I'm not throwing my shot. He's like, I am turning off this.
He threw away his shot, okay?
Yeah.
I'm putting my remote in the air. No.
Throwing away my shot.
No, I was at a family cabin. My mother-in-law's new husband got a well, not a cabin, it's his house, but it's in Taylor, Arizona, and so we went there for 4th of July weekend, and they were watching it, and they turned it on, and I was like, I can't do this. And then I was playing Settlers of Catan through part of it. And so that distracted me, but I was super annoyed with it in the background the whole time. But so I was kind of intermittent. I saw different parts, but I can't say that I'm a super history buff either. So I don't know how closely it ties to Hamilton. Like, as far as like, did they do a good job with the history? I don't know, because I'm not buff on that, so I'm not sure.
Well, I know Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote it, is huge into that stuff, and it used to be a lot longer. He consolidated it down, and I think he's getting some heat now because it doesn't really talk about the slave ownership part of it, right, Travis?
Correct. Yeah, it's based primarily. There's this very famous biography on Hamilton that if you read it, I read it after seeing the play, and it lifts heavily from the chronology and the events in there, and the characters focused on primarily in that book are the main characters that are brought into the play, as opposed to the whole ancillary set of people in that time that were important. Paul Revere doesn't show up.
It's got a lot of I looked up a lot of the history as we were going through it too, and a lot of it seemed to be the events were definitely real, but. No, Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton did not have a rap battle.
Yeah,
that never happened.
Well, they had arguments. It just doesn't.
Yeah. They portrayed it as rap battles, and those were two of my favorite scenes. Honestly, I don't really like rap. I'm with you, Tyler. It's not a genre I like, and so the in between song moments where they were rapping were my least favorite parts. But I loved the rap battle. I thought that was freaking awesome, and I liked that they had a mic in the performance for it, so you could tell it was a rap battle, and dishing back and forth on each other. Thought that was freaking awesome. I love that. And I will say, if you guys haven't watched it and you want to watch it, put on subtitles. I usually hate subtitles, but for the first act, we didn't have them on. And then the second act, we decided to turn them on. And I significantly liked the second act better because I could finally understand what was being said a lot better. It really helped me to actually understand the story better, when before I was having a hard time understanding everything they were saying. So subtitles are actually a pretty good idea for this one.
Agreed. Yeah. Same here. We had to turn those on because I was just like, I'm not catching what they're saying. Yeah.
Travis, let's hear from you. I'd like to get your perspective, just because you saw it live. The first thing I want to ask you, is there a difference?
Yeah, I saw it on the West End on their first cast show run. Jamel Weston was playing the titular character in that run. So it's tough because I'm going to talk about the experience of watching this kind of streaming and maybe focus more on that. But I'm sure the live theater parts will come in. To me, I've seen big tentpole musicals, and I tend not to like them. I like more like Sam Shepard type theater, just let's put a play on. And musicals are fun, but I always find that they're overhyped. And so I got tickets to Hamilton months before I went to London. And I went to it being like, okay, this is going to be like a Jersey Boys or Wicked or Lion King, where everyone loves it. And it's kind of just like, let's get it out there. And it's a fun energy. Energy is going to take us through this production. It's just going to be this big kind of raucous, woo, here it is musical. And as soon as it started, I was just like, holy cow. They're doing, it is a musical in its truest sense, but takes it's like a jagged musical because they go out in all these experience. He pulls at the taffy in different ways, and I thought that the choices to take it from its traditional musical form, I thought all those choices were really interesting and fun and a new experience. To go with what Max said, it's funny about the rapping thing. When I remember being in the theater and also online, when they start off, and I listen to rap, I listen to hip hop, I always have. you have to adjust. Like your brain has to adjust to the cadence. That first number in the show, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to understand this play, but then your ears start to adjust to it. And we have to keep in mind that not a lot of people who are watching this on Disney Plus have either seen the show or listened to that soundtrack over and over and over again. So by the time they are faced with the visuals of the play, if they have not seen it live, they don't have to concentrate as much on like, whoa, what's happening here? Because some of those, I thought that, Lin-Manuel goes back and each of the characters has their own distinct style. Some of the characters are rapping like Rakim. Some of the characters are rapping like Biggie. Some of the characters are rapping like Busta Rhymes. And so each of the characters, he's gone back in time and found like the rap equivalent for that character. And so they're rapping in that style. So when Lafayette is like, you're like, I don't understand it unless you've listened to the soundtrack a couple dozen times, like a lot of fans have. So your those nuances in how those double entendres, those nuances, all those things that are just like, damn, that's so smart and that's so clever, and the use of language on your first viewing, even in live theater, it kind of washes over you. And part of the brilliance for me of this play is how clever and well placed that language exchange is, and the hip hop references they're using, the classical music references, even the Beatles references. I mean, King George is the refrain is it's a Beatles, that the backdrop on there.
Yeah, a lot of like it.
Yeah.
Straight from a Beatles track.
Yeah, and that's where he pulls it from. So each of the characters is aligned to their own kind of musical archetype, and that brings out an interesting take on historical figures. It makes history come alive, and now it's getting a lot of flack now that people can rewatch it and see it. They're like, oh, it's not historically accurate, but I think it's to encapsulate an American spirit through a real historical character in a fictionalized play with modern music. So there's so many ingredients where if one of them is not working, this play can fall apart very quickly. And whether you're a huge fan of it or not, the balls to do that are really huge. And one last thing before I pass the mic, when this... To speak on that point, when Lin-Manuel first unveiled this, it was at the White House, and he only had a couple of songs completed. It took him like a year to write the songs for this play. And he did, Throwing Away That Shot song. He went to the White House, and Obama was there, and everyone was there. And he goes, okay, they invited me here. This is from my rap musical about Alexander Hamilton. And everyone started laughing. And then the beat drops and he starts rapping, and everyone's face is kind of like, it's cute. It's funny. And they thought I was going to be like a parody, but you could see, like a satire on it, almost like a Book of Mormon type thing, right? Yeah. Where it's kind of goofy, but the sincerity in Lin-Manuel's face and the way he delivered this, by the end of it, everyone was just floored with how sincere he was taking the subject matter in this form. Everything in this play Lin-Manuel truly loves. He loves rap, he loves musicals, he loves history, and everything is just treated as so precious in this play by him, and his love and the details comes out in this play. I really like the play, and I will talk a little bit later about what doesn't come across in the viewing on Disney Plus.
I just want to say that I freaking love that you're on here right now, because this is what I wanted from you. I was like, I know Travis liked this better than all of us, and he's going to offer a perspective that's really unique. I really wish I loved rap, because I did not catch the fact that it was different styles of rap depending on the character. Like, I don't understand that. I don't listen to rap. I don't know that there's even multiple styles, really. Like, I mean, I did know that, but like, I couldn't tell you if that's a Biggie or whatever. Like, I would have no idea. So that's really cool. I'm glad you pointed that out. Makes me want to rewatch it a little bit now. So that's really cool. Anyway, sorry I cut you off, Lance.
Well, I mean, you can even hear like major ones like DMX, you know, like Hercules
DMX
Mode.
one was the one
Yeah,
that stuck out to me the most.
And it's you know, and it's
cool. George Washington's character that did that, right?
Like I could tell George Washington was different. Yeah, George Washington, I could tell.
Who's Hercules Mulligan was definitely, he was in that first one. He was definitely kind of like a Rough Riders aspect to it. Washington, I don't know what the reference for Washington was. I just remember
Washington the first time he was introduced, he kind of jumps out in typical like DMX fashion, like almost like a leap and like a pounce type thing. And I remember seeing that. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen DMX do that. Like, and that's when I started to realize, oh, he's borrowing different styles.
Yeah, and even Washington changes because the second the second act, he's like you know, he's singing like and we will teach them how to say goodbye, goodbye. Yeah. So because his character is more polished at that point. At first, he's just this general commander, but by the end, he's the statesman. He's the first statesman, and so he's much more polished, and he's learned a lot, and so that reflects in his delivery of it. The character's delivery of their lines evolves as the character in history evolves, because just like all of us, as we go through things, our approach to life changes, our energy levels change, and so that's all reflected in the delivery of their performances. And these characters, a lot of them are playing two characters. So not only do each of their characters have to evolve, but also they have to have, you know, Daveed Diggs is playing Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson, and both those characters have to evolve lyrically.
So good.
Yeah,
he was so good as Thomas Jefferson.
One of my best. He was one of my favorite parts. But even Aaron Burr in the beginning, you see that he's kind of like this cocky guy that went to these Ivy League schools and stuff, and then he develops kind of a jealousy midway through for Alexander Hamilton, as Alexander Hamilton's getting all these accolades and positions and stuff that Aaron Burr wants.
Well, Alexander Hamilton literally lived the American dream of coming from nothing and rising his way up into, like, you know, into station, whereas you know, Aaron Burr was like, he was born with privilege.
So let me give my thoughts on it real quick, because I'm kind of in between. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I think I liked it more than Max. I actually listen to hip hop like when I'm by myself and stuff. Like I like that genre of music, some of it, not all of it, but I like that genre of music. So that's not what bothered me. I thought it was it shocked me when I first turned it on, because it wasn't what I was expecting. I never heard these songs before. I had no idea the entire play was in hip hop. I should have done a little research, I think, going into it. But after that first song, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna do hip hop the entire time. So I kind of like adjusted my my expectations at that point, right? I put that hat on, right? My biggest issue, and I think it has to do with that this was a live filming of them performing it to an audience, is I thought everybody did a fantastic job except for Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Agreed.
Most of the time, like, it sounded like he was out of breath. It sounded at many times he was off key. And that might just be my singing background as a musician myself, that I can pick up on those things. Maybe somebody that doesn't have a musical background might not pick up on it, but I heard him at least 20 to 30 times off key when he was trying to harmonize with somebody or whatever. And I looked at my wife and I said, I'm pretty sure this guy knows how to sing, because I think I've seen YouTube videos of him singing. So I went and looked it up on YouTube, and sure enough, the guy can sing. He has a very nice voice. In fact, I watched one with him doing show tunes with James Corden in the car. It was fantastic. So I think that's why it ruined it for me, is the fact that I saw this thing on Disney Plus and it just didn't equal the amount of hype that was given to it.
Right.
I walked into it. I was so excited to watch it, and then I walked in, I was like, bummer.
I agree with you about Lin-Manuel Miranda performance. I thought Jamil Weston did a much better job on the West End as a trained musical actor. The Hamilton role is what we call in musical theater. It's called a park and bark role. It's because some of the characters, like the women in this, a lot of their scenes, they're moving and singing. A park and bark role is for someone who like maybe can sing but can't sing and do a lot of choreography at the same time. So you park and they park and bark. And so you could see that Lin-Manuel had more park and bark scenes, and when he had to do some choreography, that the musical quality of his delivery and performance in staying in the key, that detracted from the actual performance. So yeah.
So he does not
pop singers lip syncing their own songs.
Yeah, well, I mean, a perfect example of park and bark role is the King George. Like he doesn't have much choreography at all. He comes out and he stands and he goes, "You'll be back soon, you'll see." But he's also got the some of the most like beautiful, like fun delivery of
Jonathan Groff.
And I don't think that's because Jonathan Groff can't do choreography. I just think that's what they chose to do with the character.
Still,
because he is extremely talented and he's started as like a Broadway actor. But where was I going with that? Darn it! Sorry, I now remember. I was listening to the soundtrack right after I finished the movie because I wanted to get a little bit more exposure to this before I reviewed it, and I was listening, and Lin-Manuel Miranda was on the soundtrack, so it wasn't a matter of him live and being off key. He just doesn't have as strong of a presence voice-wise as the other actors who are like trained Broadway quality actors.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lamar Odom his voice is phenomenal. Like he's one of the prolific voices in that the character Aaron Burr. Mm-hmm. He's done Smash. He does Park on Apple TV. So like the level of the professionalism of some of the other people, or like their history of the other people in this play, surpassed Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah,
and he wasn't bad. Like I'm not trying to badmouth him really, because I would say that he and I might have similar levels of voice, like, and his is probably better than mine. I'm not a Broadway seasoned actor. I couldn't do that. I've done musical theater and I think I'm decent, but I'm not like some amazing, professional singer. But yeah, compared to some of the other people, that's all I'm getting at. So like, for instance, Angelica and Eliza, but Angelica even more so, was freaking phenomenal. She had the best voice of anybody, I think, in the entire show. I was so impressed anytime Angelica was singing, and Eliza almost to the same extent, just like a little bit less for Eliza, but they were just phenomenal. And that's the kind of stuff that I loved about this play. There were a lot of the in-between moments that were more rap focused, which I honestly wish that I appreciated more. Mm-hmm. But I don't have that background, so I didn't appreciate them. But then they would get to the musical, like Broadway, more traditional musical moments, and I loved those. Those were like I was all about that stuff. Especially with the sisters being introduced. I love that song. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after is when the king comes up, and his is kind of like a musical pop song. But I loved those two numbers, and I was like, holy crap, this is great. Maybe it just started slow, because I was kind of not liking it the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. I like the Alexander Hamilton song, but then after that, it kind of died down for me. And then the sisters came on, and I was loving it. And then the king, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, maybe it just took a while to pick up. And then it slowed back down to do more like the rap style stuff. And I was like, man, I'm not liking this. And then it would hit another big musical number. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then it would go back into the rap stuff, and I wasn't liking it. Then big musical number. And so I think that's kind of where I stand with it. I loved so many moments of this movie, like loved them. And I plan on re-listening to the soundtrack. Like I could listen all day to King George, Jonathan Groff singing da 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 da.
Is he on the album?
He's the original. Person. He was on the album.
Okay, but he's not he stepped in for somebody. He's not the original king.
Oh, well, he's on the album. I don't know who the original was. But
that's why I was asking. I wasn't sure. But I forget who the actor was that was the original king. But Jonathan Groff stepped in pretty early. Okay. So I wasn't sure if they did it with him or not.
Yeah, they have him on the soundtrack. And I think I'm going to listen to the soundtrack over the next week because it's good. It's a really good soundtrack.
Yeah, Jonathan Groff was probably my favorite part of the entire play. Like because his scene
was funny.
Had so much more humor. What I will say is there was a lot of heart in this movie, specifically when the son dies in the duel. That scene affected me watching it. I kind of got a little teary-eyed watching it, because here's this man, he's trying to do everything he can for the country, right? He's throwing his own personal stuff to the wind. I mean, he's having affairs, and he has this doting wife at home who he basically sleeps around on and stuff like that, and this son, and is trying to give his son advice as like, just point your gun in the air and do all these things, and his son ultimately dies. And this isn't spoilers because this was history, so just
Well, we always spoil anyway.
But that's true. But what really got me was at the end, when Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr are about to duel, and Hamilton does the same thing. He points his gun in the air, ultimately dies. And I loved the connection between those 2 points of the movie, to where
there's 3 points, because at the beginning it's the guy, one of the commanders that he works with has a duel with General Lee, and that's the first duel, and that's where you learn the rules of a duel. And then we see it in the sun, and then we see it. So that duel comes up 3 times in the play.
And I thought that was a nice connection point throughout the entire thing. But yeah, and I agree with you, Travis. Like they do it 3 times, but the connection between the father and the son, I thought was beautiful. But I also think this does a really good job of explaining Alexander Hamilton was a very smart man, and he did a lot for this country, but he was also deeply flawed. And I would have hated to go into a play about Alexander Hamilton and it not talk about his flaws, where he was essentially an adulterer. He was a little bit conceited, you know what I mean? And kind of a know-it-all, and thought he was kind of better than everybody else. And I think that adds a little bit more value to this play. But I would be okay seeing it live, because I think
I would too.
I think
I'd love to see it live.
for me to see it live.
Yeah, I'd love to see this live.
It's an interesting time for this play to come out to video. One, around the 4th of July, but in the past couple of years, there's been this real look at heroes and role models, right? And we're taking down some of these, people that have always been held up as heroes, right? As we learn more about their lives, as more things come out in this information age, we say, okay, you can't be a hero because of these things. And I think, this is just a personal opinion, I think that as a storyteller and someone who consumes stories, and it's a huge part of their life, I think heroes are so necessary. Whether the truth is 100% or not, I think we need these heroes. And what this play represents is taking someone who is deeply flawed, as Lance said, like Alexander Hamilton, and focusing on that hero side, mythologizing this hero so that we have something to look forward to. Not the man, but the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And then the second fold is that Lin-Manuel Miranda, what he did in colorblind casting, in writing this thing from the ground up, in performing in it, and then putting it out there for young kids to watch and be like, wow, this guy wrote this. He did the music. He stars in it. I go, that's my hero. I want to be like Lin Miranda. So it's a play about a hero that creates another hero in Lin-Manuel Miranda in its creation. So many young theater kids look up to this guy now. So this really kind of gives you the double bang for your buck, as far as if you're looking for an idea to believe in, the idea of Alexander Hamilton presented in this play is a good one. It's a hero. And then also in the making of this play, from this one man's journey to seeing his vision through, there's a hero in that as well. And for me, I think that is, and it's such an interesting time for that to come out, a play about Alexander Hamilton that looks more at his heroics than his flaws, but doesn't shy away from his flaws. Maybe doesn't show all of them and stuff like that. But
yeah, did you guys watch Lin-Manuel Miranda doing drunk history on Alexander Hamilton?
No, I didn't, but I will now.
So there's a drunk history episode where he gets plastered, and he starts reciting basically Alexander Hamilton history, and a lot of it coincides with the play. You can tell this is a man that loves this subject, has a deep has a deep value for it, and he wanted to do a play that did justice, and not so much justice to try to defend. I don't know if Alexander Hamilton's his hero. I would assume that this is probably a guy that means a lot to him, but it would have been horrible to see somebody do a play about this and basically putting this guy up on this pedestal and like kind of hushing all his the crappy things that he did. But the best thing about it is the cultural diverse cast. For instance, the three sisters are all different races. There's white, black, and the other one's Latina, right?
I don't know
exactly what their races are, but yeah, they certainly look of different racial backgrounds.
And while you're watching it, do you ever say to yourself, like, they can't be sisters? Like, you don't do that, right? Like, you don't care. I thought that was beautiful. You don't remember the third sister when they sang their introduction song? It was
Peggy.
Peggy. She's like,
she's in it.
Yeah. I don't remember what happens to her.
I think she plays the seductress in the second part of the play.
Oh, she plays both roles?
Yeah.
But they never said what happens to the third sister, right?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember any lyrics that tell what happened there.
Yeah, but it basically was three sisters, and all of a sudden I noticed there was only two, like 20 minutes later. But I thought that was amazing. I mean, Thomas Edison is a black man. George Washington, I think he was Latino. If I couldn't really tell, I haven't done any background on them, but I thought that was so cool to be talking about something that mainly white men dominated this time period, and bringing in people with diverse backgrounds to play these parts. Like, it made it that much more endearing to me.
Yeah, I mean, Hamilton's an immigrant story. I mean, he was in, what was it, Barbados or Bahamas, and came to this country. So colorblind casting it was beautiful. It was a great choice.
And everybody in this is perfectly. You can tell that they weren't cast because they're culturally diverse, right? You can tell that they were truly cast because they were the best person for this role. Like, and it might be because I watched it on Disney Plus. Lin-Manuel Miranda is the only one that I had issue with, and I think this is why, is because it was on Disney Plus. But everybody else in this, you couldn't really say that anybody else didn't do anything less than a stellar performance.
Well, think about how hard that would be to cast, because you have to have someone who's somewhat musically theater trained and can rap at different speeds.
Mm-hmm.
David Diggs, there's very few people who can rap with that kind of clarity at that speed that he does for Lafayette, and to switch back and then still be able to carry a tune that isn't rap. And so I think at this, you just got to take the best people possible.
Yeah. Well, and you can kind of see that with Lamar Odom Jr. Lamar Odom Jr. is obviously a better singer than he is a rapper. So he raps with clarity and stuff. So it's not the same grievances that I have with Lin-Manuel Miranda, but you can tell that this is not his strength, the rapping part. He sings beautifully. He has one of the most impressive voices I've ever heard ever. But he still was the best person for that role. Even, I mean, the songs that he was singing were not as difficult as what David Diggs was singing. And that Thomas Edison thing, that It Must Be Nice song.
Thomas Jefferson, you mean?
What did I say? Edison? Jefferson is what I meant. Sorry. That song was stuck in my head days after. I would just walk around the house. It must be nice. You know what I mean? Over and over again. So it obviously did its job as a play. It got in my head. I started to think about portions of that show. It's just a shame that this was my first consumption of it.
If acting talent and musical talent, rapping talent aside, what role in this show would you want to play?
Would I want to play?
Yeah, everyone will go around the table. What do you think, if you're an actor, which one would you think would be the most fun to play, or that you'd want to play?
Man,
I think George Washington, just because he's the one that has a very clear difference from the beginning to the end. So he basically got, like you said earlier, he basically got to play two characters, the best of both worlds. He was a war general, this gruff exterior, and then became a statesman who was polished and stuff. And his song where he's singing about teaching people how to like kind of take a step back or whatever. I don't know what that song's called. It's a beautiful song. Like,
teach them how to say goodbye. We'll teach them, like teaching the country how to let go of a leader. Oh, God, it's so
one of my favorite songs of the entire thing.
And it applies to not just, you know, a leader stepping down, but anything that we do where we have to say goodbye to something that we created and loved, whether it be a podcast or a class of students or something like that. It's just, you know, knowing when it's time to go and hoping people will not turn away from the form or whatever you created just because you're not there anymore.
I'm dealing with that now. As my children are getting older, they need less of me, right, in their lives. Particularly my daughter, her and I were always close. But as the older she gets, she's starting to have her own friends and her own life and stuff like that. And I can
you're
feel
not as cool anymore.
It's true. I can feel that as her father, that separation where I'll be just there to catch her if she falls, you know, but I'm not as involved with her life. And that song kind of spoke to me in that manner. I immediately thought of my relationship with my daughter. And I think that's how the best songs are written. Something that they could be singing about something completely different, but it elicits an emotional response in you that's personal. And that's how amazing songs are written. And there's not a bad song in this thing. I think it's just the performer ruined it for me. But
Tyler, what about you? What about your if you could play anyone in this play, what role would you take on?
The usher standing outside. Bruce Campbell not letting Spider-Man into the door.
Nice.
I'm more of a tech guy, guys.
I'll be on the stage, but behind the curtain.
Stage for me.
No, I've thought many times about obviously being so into movies and TV and stuff. What would I want to do if I were an actor? And it's no different for me with stage theater. I'd want to do the comedic role, somebody that doesn't take themselves too seriously.
King George, then maybe
King George. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Well, you Max.
So I can't pick one. I'm gonna give you 3. Because I actually do like acting. I used to do it, and I really want to get back into musical theater now. And I honestly feel like once the world slows down, now that I work from home, I'll be able to do it. Like I think that my work schedule is going to allow for me to go and do musical theater again. I really want to. I like it. And the community theater is only like 10 minutes away from my house. Anyway, so there's 3, and I will rank them. Number 3, Aaron.
Sorry,
Burr.
Lance, you just joined us. Max is breaking the rules. He's picking 3.
Yes,
Continue,
I am.
Max.
Yes, Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr would be my number 3. I think he's got some really good musical numbers that I would enjoy, and he's kind of like a villain. And in my prior roles, my favorite was to play the villain in Oklahoma as Judd Fry. I like playing the villain, and I'm good at it. So Aaron Burr. And then 2 would be King George. I just think it's a really fun role, and I've also done some comedic roles, and I like being funny. Like when I was Mortimer in the Fantastics. What was that?
Number 1 is Angelica.
You know what? That wouldn't be a bad one. That actually would be pretty fun. I love her songs, but number 1 would be Thomas Jefferson, because he to me sticks out more as the villain than anybody else. And I know he's only in the second act, but like he is like the number 1 rival of Hamilton. I think that he's hilarious and he's a villain, so it kind of fits both of those worlds that I would want. So Thomas Jefferson, even though I'm a horrible rapper, there's no way I could pull that role off, would be really fun. What about you, Travis?
I mean, now that you took 3 of them, I guess I get. I also would go with Jefferson for some of the same reasons. One, I mean, he comes out in like all this Prince glory, right? It's like you're pretending to be Prince on stage, right?
He comes back, he's like, I'm back.
This foppish, debonair kind of attitude. The rap battle scenes are really fun. And so I think that would be
this flamboyance to him too.
Yes, yeah.
He's wearing a really loud jacket, and
yeah,
I love that his hair is like.
He just commands. You have that role. You just have to command the stage. The only problem with that is the way this play is structured. You also have to play Lafayette, and no one can rap that fast, man. That's so crazy how fast he raps his Lafayette, even in an accent that he puts on that he slides in and out of. But the French accent, Lafayette would be fun because I like the scenes in the first act where they're all kind of just boys. Right, I'm John Lawrence in the place to be, 2 pints of Sam Adams, but I'm working on 3. And like they're all kind of sitting around, dancing around the table. I like that. I think it would be fun to work with other actors in this brotherhood scene where you would develop this camaraderie as you're just kind of rapping and having fun and talking about picking up girls and drinking beer and being a rebel and dying for a cause. I think any of those roles, Hercules Mulligan and those John Lawrence and those minor roles are also pretty good.
Yeah, I think in any movie, those are some of the best parts are when it's the bros sitting at the table. Yeah. I immediately think back to the episode we did a couple weeks ago where we talked about the first Avenger, Captain America, and those scenes with the Howling Commandos sitting in the bar and Agent Carter walks in and they're all oogling Agent Carter and stuff. Those are some of my favorite scenes from that movie because there's something to be said about brotherly love. There's a pure form. One out of all friendships, like brotherly love is like one of the purest forms of friendship, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And that resonates with people like you and I. Like one of my favorite things to do is to get together with my buddies, go to like a bar or whatever, like Buffalo Wild
start a revolution. I know.
And watch a football game and eat wings. Like that is just like fun. So I get that. And
you can. It's different than with women. I just had this conversation with my wife the other day. Men can like tease each other and razz on each other, and there's very seldom is there hurt feelings. You know what I mean? With women, some women that's not really present in their friendships. They can't really razz on each other for some. Yeah. They usually get in groups and razz on somebody else that's not in the group, But with men, like there's a pure form of camaraderie there. I don't know what that is, if it's in our genes or what, but and seeing that in this play, you ultimately gravitate towards those characters, the Lafayette and.
Well, they had that great number where it's like raise a glass to freedom, and they're all kind of, and they repeat that motif at his wedding where they're busting on Aaron Burr, like if the Tomcat can get married, and then Burr comes in, they're like, Burr, get out of here, you're bringing the thing down. It like as you were saying, Lance and Max, it shows you that some things are timeless in humanity, and bros have always been bros, you know, whether there was, this horrible bloodshed rebellion where people are dying and your friends are dying. There's still those moments of shit talking and hanging out and doing all that stuff.
And the other thing is too, I mean, you could be apart for years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we lose Max. You could be apart for years.
Bro, no! Right? We lost a bro.
It's like no time has passed, right? Like tomorrow I'm getting together with my bandmates, where we went through like a 6-7 year period where we didn't really like communicate that much and we weren't really hanging out or anything like that. And we're getting together tomorrow. And it's all, every time I get together with them, it's like no time has passed.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's so pure. And you really believe that those 3 characters, the 4 characters in Hamilton are that way. Like they do a really good job of showing Hamilton's kind of support group, I guess.
Yeah, I think all the dynamics are really strong. You know, of course, the big one, Aaron Burr and Hamilton, the two sides of the same coin. And then you have the coworker. Jefferson plays the great competitive coworker where like you disagree about everything, but there is a mutual respect underneath it. It's like, I might not, I might not like you, but goddamn, do I respect you? Type of thing. And so whether it's the bros, whether it's the career rival, whether it's the coworker, he has a real sense of male dynamics, other dynamics as well, but certainly the male dynamics when it comes to competition and friendship and that type of stuff. He does really well. He has a real good epic view of that.
I have a little bit of an on-topic but off-topic thing to go along with this. Like, I know, like, I did not like the styles of rap that they used in Hamilton, but I don't dislike all rap. It's very, very rare when I do like something that's done in rap. But if we're talking about bros, you need to go listen to the Lord of the Rings trilogy recap rap.
What?
Hey, why do we have to go? Why do we have to go listen to it? Why don't you just give us a little sample of it right now, Tyler?
No.
My name is Tyler. I'm here to say I watch Lord of the Rings every night, every day. Yeah.
That was very accurate. It's all about bros being bros is a very big, strong theme in the recap rap, and it's hilarious and awesome, and you go check it out on YouTube. But it's also why like the end of those relationships being portrayed is so emotionally strong. Like when you watch Les Mis, Empty Chairs and Empty Tables is like such a strong song, or Empty Chairs,
Empty chairs and empty tables. Oh,
yeah.
I love that song.
So yeah, that's such a powerful song because it's the end of that relationship that character has.
Well, and there's a portion in the play where they find out that Mulligan, was it Mulligan, what died in the war?
It was John Lawrence.
Well, it was John Lawrence. I couldn't remember which one it was. But you feel that. You feel like the death of their little clique, right? Mm-hmm. Within it is a very moving tribute that they do during that moment as well. But like I think that all people can just kind of gravitate towards that, because whether you're a man or a woman, we've all had that relationship at some point in our lives where there's just somebody you are just connected to through thick and thin. Most of us have. And go ahead.
I was going to talk about, we hadn't talked about one of, I think, a fantastic number in here is The Room Where It Happened. I want to be in the room where it happened. The sense of that to me says everything about that character of we've all been in that place. You want to be, whatever career you're in, whatever field you're in, you want to be in the mix, as deep in the mix as you can. And sometimes you're just constantly being pushed to the outside. And the bitterness when the club lets someone in and they don't let you in, and you're just like, man, I want to be a mover. I want to be a shaker. I want to do this. And
at the table,
the symbolism of the room where it happened, of not being able to be in there, and that just being, I just want to be in the room. I don't even have to be the shot caller. I just want to be associated with it.
You want to be the fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Actually. We hear that all the time you hear it a lot about contract negotiations in sports, right? Like, how did that work? Or how did this trade go down? Man, just to be a fly on the wall and listen to this happen, and to be able to have a voice at the table. I kind of have felt that in my life where, big decisions were made without really considering like how I might feel about them, and not having the opportunity to give your voice. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you, Travis. I think that's something everybody feels.
That's how Lance had 4 of his 5 kids.
I was in the room.
And Max
were in the room, though.
Max is in the. He has his hand.
I want to be in the room.
I want to be in the room. I want to roll. I want to roll around in the sheets where it happened. The sheets.
Oh, boy.
No, Max and I have this thing. Oh, guess what I just did? No, just kidding.
So in Scrubs, they got like the gong that they ring anytime they get laid. Lance and I just send each other a text. It's nice. We keep a running tally.
We don't send each other a text.
No, we don't.
I think both of our wives would castrate us at that point.
Yeah.
But
no.
Tyler, I would definitely recommend maybe watching this on your own and just trying to get past some of that stuff, because there is some really beautiful moments in this movie. I mean, I understand, somebody not being that into hip. I wasn't as into hip hop as a child as I am now. Like I've started, the more as my musical tastes have grown over time. And now I'm going back, and I mean, my only interaction with hip hop when I was a kid was like Run DMC and Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's more rap than hip hop, but now as an adult, like I'm starting to see the artistry in it, because there's a tremendous amount of artistry in hip hop music to do stuff that actually is impactful. I mean, a lot of these artists sing about stuff that's not impactful, that has no meaning to really anybody, but the real ones that can sing about impactful things and do it with such flow and artistry, there's something special in that.
Mm-hmm. They might already have it. I'm sure it exists, but I think listening to this on vinyl in a really good system, really high def, hooked to those several $100, if not $1,000 setups with the tube amps and stuff like that. Putting this and pouring a cocktail, turning the lights down, and just listening to the because the whole story is here. There's nothing on the soundtrack, a word in the play that isn't in the soundtrack, and you can just kind of meditate on it and hear it come through this really kind of great quality.
In fact, I considered, I don't know if it would work. I was going to see this if I watch the Disney Plus and play the album next to it, if it would sync and if I would get more enjoyment out of it.
No, because it's live theater. And so I think they did that over, it's a combination of 3 shows, I think. I think they filmed 3 shows and then they cut and kind of sliced it together. But there's some improv off of what's on the soundtrack as opposed to what's in the theater. It's not word for word, especially when it comes to like the zingers in the silent moments. They'll throw in a couple different things.
That's a shame. Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think it's a great representation that, like, hey, if you're there that night, this is the show you get. The next people the next night are going to get that show.
I love when there's some
I love the natural feel. I'm just looking for a way to have this be better.
I know. I saw his comment. I'm like, well, I don't, Matt. I don't have anything better to do with my life right now. This is why I'm doing so many podcasts.
This is exactly what we were talking about. Men can razz each other, and Matt is in the chat just razzing Travis right now, telling me obviously he has nothing better to do with his life if he wants to sit there with a cocktail listening to an album.
No, I said I didn't say cocktail. I said cock out listening to an album.
Oh, cock out. Okay.
Yeah. That's not even better.
Yeah.
But no, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. I had something and then I forgot.
Well, I have something I've been meaning to say.
Yeah.
There was something in the play that I really liked. Well, there were a lot of things I really liked, but near the beginning of the play, when you do see that camaraderie with all the friends, you see you start to then see the revolution unfolding for our country. And yes, this is a fictionalized play, but it is detailing like history and how things happened, and that our country was very much a ragtag group of people. And it just was really cool. Like, as I was thinking about it, now the United States is one of the most powerful nations in the world, and it started 300 years ago, less than 300 years ago, with just a group of ragtag people who really weren't that organized, and they organized a revolution to become their own country. And as a citizen of that country, I just think that's so cool. Think what you will about the current state of our government. Definitely has some things that needs to be resolved. We're not a show that talks about politics, but like, I love that in the play, that it just showed our beginnings of this ragtag group of people who developed this country that became one of the most powerful nations in the world. And I think that's really cool.
Matt is he's trolling at this point because I happen to know for a fact because he posted on Facebook that he loved Hamilton. And now he's saying like I loved it because it ended. He did post that on Facebook. I'm not make believing that, right?
I have no idea.
We know he's a Hamilton at heart.
Yeah, I know he's a Hamilton fan. Well, do you guys want to? Is there anything big happening? Let's give our reviews of this first. Let's give our ranking. I guess we call it. We'll start with Travis since he's our guest. I guess he's on here a lot, but we'll still call it
rankings. I give it 4 out of 5 couch cushions. I think that I'm always torn when I see theater live. When they capture like this because. Theater needs butts and seats to keep it going. And if we were to take all of these shows and just turn them into the film version, there's less people would, clamor to the theaters to go see them. But at the same time, when something is such a cultural movement as that, and when it can provide so much inspiration for young kids and theater lovers, and it poses everything that's really great creatively about America and mythologizes a historical figure into this hero. I think that I give this 4 out of 5. I think that the theater experience is a 5 out of 5. The streaming version is a 4 out of 5. And I thought it was great.
They need a bunch of tiny butts in tiny seats, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tyler.
Little baby butts.
Max, what about you?
I'm going to land on a 3.5 out of 5. This was one of the harder movies for me to score, just because there were moments that to me were 5s. There were moments to me that were like 1s because I was bored out of my mind. Maybe 2s because they weren't bad. I was just bored because of my own personal preferences. But overall, I really liked it, especially the second act, which is funny because when the first act ended, I was like, wait, the war just ended and they still have a whole other act? What the heck? I was like, this is long.
I thought I was almost done with the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought it was almost over. But the second act actually was even better. I really, really liked the second act a lot. I thought it was the better half of the show. So yeah, 3.5 for me. And also, I agree with Travis. Improvising is fun at a show. I remember when I was doing a play in high school and I had a death scene. And on the third night, which was our last night, I was told not to fall off the stage because I never had before. But they heard that I wanted to fall off the stage for my death scene. And I told them I wouldn't. But I improvised and I fell off the stage anyway. And it was wonderful. And I got lots of laughs.
Is it improvised? Planet?
No, I don't it's not. I improvised the manner in which I fell off the stage.
He's like, I planned to improvise.
Guys, don't tell anyone, but I'm improvising tonight on these lines.
Tyler, what about you, my friend?
So this type of thing is very hard for me to rate, but I because I know the quality that was put into it. But when we're talking about me personally and how much I enjoyed it, it's going to be very low. And I hate to do that because I know that because of the quality that I know is in the show. But for me, there was very few redeeming things that made me interested in it. But there was some very good performances as far as some of the songs that were sung and the way that things were performed. So it's not like a 0 for me, but I'd probably never really want to watch it again. I know you want me to, but I have no desire to watch it again. So I'm going to give it probably a 2 couch cushions.
Okay.
Now, is 2 enough for you to fit on? Will you be going to fit on those 2? Or do you need a third in there?
Tyler has a big butt. He can't fit in theater seats. It has to be at least 3 cushions.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's am I freezing? Are you guys seeing me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
You're okay right now.
Okay. On my end,
blurry before.
So it's a shame because I do like this style of music. It's I think there's a tremendous amount of artistry in this. I think what really the main issues I had were just in the manner that this was filmed. It has nothing to do with the play in general. So I think it took away some of the luster that it probably could have had for me. And also the fact that Lin-Manuel Miranda sounded sick throughout the whole, like he was just out of breath and stuff like that. And when I'm watching a movie, there's a reason you watch a movie as opposed to a live performance, right? And when you're sitting in the seat, you're feeling the energy of the audience around you. You're feeling the energy of the cast. That's what a good live performance is, right? That's why I love going to concerts and things like that, because every concert's different because of the amount of energy the band is putting into it, the amount of energy the audience is back to the band. You don't feel that because you're sitting in your living room watching somebody perform in front of an audience. Like it just doesn't, that doesn't translate through the screen. And I think that if I saw that in the same exact conditions, but my butt was in that seat watching it live, it would have meant a lot more for me. So for that reason, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. So,
All right.
but I do want to go see it live.
Tank, for that reason.
For that reason, I'm out.
So great episode. I just wanted to give a couple of not so much fab or flubs because
I put a pretty big one in there. There's a pretty big one.
Oh, I haven't opened your thing. I didn't think you put anything in there. Why don't you read? Is it about Falcon and Winter Soldier?
No, I put that on there, but that's not really news at this point anymore. It's been delayed. It's a flub. We're all disappointed it's delayed. I mean, there's really nothing to talk about. These days, everything gets delayed. There is a really big piece of news, though.
What?
Not about that, but Netflix is making a $200 million movie with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. It's a spy movie directed by the Russo brothers. And I think that sounds awesome. Yeah, and they want it to be a franchise. Yeah. And it's based on books, and there's 10 books in the series, so there's tons of room for content. I really hope this is good because I love Ryan Gosling. I love Chris Evans. I love the Russo brothers. I love spy movies. So it's got all the ingredients. I just hope they put them together correctly. And the Russo brothers have done a good job with pretty much everything I've seen of them so far. So I have no reason to expect it won't be good.
And they compared this project to The Winter Soldier, but without the extra stuff that they had to put into The Winter Soldier to make it a Marvel movie, right? They can actually focus on the political aspect that they enjoy more about The Winter Soldier than the superhero stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool, but they kind of see this as their opportunity to make their true political thriller spy genre film. I thought the casting was an interesting choice. Like, do any of you see Chris Evans as a spy? I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing that.
He was literally a spy as Captain America. He wasn't as great at the spy part, but he was a SHIELD agent, which they're all spies.
Yeah,
I think he'll do good. I think he's got some good range as an actor, and he's going to be the villain. I think that's exciting to see him as a villain. From what it sounds like, based on the premise, he's a villain in the sense of like he's trying to track down Ryan Gosling's character, but is he actually a bad guy, or is he just kind of doing what his government is asking him to? Kind of a villain, we don't know much about the context, but
yeah.
Well, I enjoyed him as a villain in Knives Out too.
That's true. He was good in that.
His best villain performance, let's all be honest, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah. He was pretty funny in that.
Skateboarder.
I'm going to tell you something that I've neglected to tell you on other shows.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that movie, so
you should have kept that to yourself, Tyler. Now we're going to have to talk about this. Lance, move on. It's okay. Take some deep breaths.
So why didn't you tell me that here when I was letting you borrow Reservoir Dogs and everything else that you hadn't seen before? And now you tell me that you haven't seen one of my favorite movies ever.
Sorry, man. Every time you bring it up, I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't even know Chris Evans was in that.
We're gonna rectify that. But yes, that was the one thing I was going to talk about was the Falcon Winter Soldier being delayed. But they're saying WandaVision is not. So WandaVision is still on track. So potentially we could get the two premieres being pretty close to each other. I don't know how that works because they're supposed to be in the same universe. So if they do put them pretty close together, that means one episode doesn't relate to the other show or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would assume they have to be on some kind of timeline, but the article I'm reading saying WandaVision is still on track to debut on its original debut date.
Well, I don't know when Winter Falcon and Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier will come out, because my understanding is they still hadn't finished filming, and because of coronavirus they had stopped, so they need to get back and film. But I imagine Disney's being very conservative with that, not wanting to get people together because of the virus. So I don't know when that's going to really come out.
We also got to just put the disclaimer. I'm reading articles saying that WandaVision was delayed, and I'm reading articles saying that it wasn't. I'm reading articles about the about Falcon Winter Soldier potentially coming out at the right time. So there's a lot of up in the air. So let's not so much call this news as more we'll call it there's speculations. And
well, Falcon and Winter Soldier is delayed. That's news. It's the WandaVision stuff.
Debut in August because it was supposed to debut in the beginning of August, but now the one I was just reading said it might be late August. So yes, that's a delay, but not a huge delay. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation, but other than that, there's not really anything happening. So
well, I'm super stoked for the Russo brothers movie. That is something happening. So
we talked about that. I'm saying in addition to those two things.
Well, I didn't hear anything from Travis. I was waiting to hear from our illustrious guest.
I heard that news. I didn't know that Chris. I was curious on who was going to be playing what role. I didn't know if this was going to be like a two-piece where like both these characters, the Ryan Gosling character and Chris Evans, are going to be appearing throughout multiple movies, or is one of them the lead and then the other one is the big bad in the first one and maybe appears up again. Because, I know Chris Evans, got out of that long franchise lock-in. And so it seems weird would tie yourself to a potentially another long-running franchise.
Yeah, the article I read was Ryan Gosling is the franchise character. Chris Evans is the one movie character.
Oh, good. I like both of them, but I like Gosling a little bit more.
Nice.
I think Gosling is a phenomenal. Have you guys ever seen Drive?
Yeah, he's fantastic in Drive.
That's a great movie, man, and it's shocking.
I need to see that one. Place Beyond the Pines is really good. He's in that one. That one.
He's excellent in that one too.
I love him in
Blade
Runner 2049.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's not in it for even half the movie.
Yeah, he's only in like the first act.
Yeah, but he's not in it a whole lot. And he's
the Place in the Pines?
Yeah, he's only like the first act.
Oh yeah, the motorcycle cage scene is it's so awesome. Such a badass in that.
Yeah,
but that movie's great. Tyler, have you seen that one?
Do you have Drive on the Voodoo? Because if so, I need to watch that.
Tyler.
Ryan Gosling stuff.
I'm gonna get a ball and chain and attach you to my couch and just play movie after movie after movie. That's like you like it.
Instead of calling it Saul, you call it C. You like Tyler here and you
Tyler
see.
Has a thing.
Tyler has the lotion on the skin.
If I recommend it, Tyler will be more willing to engage in it because he trusts me. He doesn't trust you. I let him borrow my PlayStation and he busted out 2 games in like a week. So
that is not true. That took me like a month.
Bros. What's with all the hostility, bros?
Well, that brings us to the end of our show. I do want to give a quick shout out to Travis for joining us tonight. He is, of course, part of the Comic Exposure podcast, him and his buddy Josh. And go check them out, comicexposure.com. Right?
Correct. Yep. On iTunes, Spotify, all your major podcast platforms.
It is one of my most favorite podcasts out there.
Oh, thank you. I think it's very kind.
Yeah, I can listen to you guys talk about a comic book that I haven't even read, and I still find it so
That's cool. We love talking about comic books we haven't read. So
So go check them out. Of course, thank you for the activity from Matt in the comments. Go check out Absolute Geek Podcast. And as always, check out Max, Tyler, Sam, and myself at couchcrunchers.com, Couch Crunchers on YouTube, and Couch Crunchers on your favorite podcast player. But until next time, and Facebook and Twitter as well. But until next time, keep on geeking on.
Crunch it on!